Okay, I thought I was going to be coming in with a special guest, but he was having a fuss, even though I just breastfed him. But he is finally sleeping now. It took me a while to get him to sleep, but I will bring him in a little bit later on in the video. He will definitely make an appearance. I'll just hold him, but I just want to make sure he is sleeping officially. I almost gave up because it is 9 o'clock and I just want to go to bed. Yeah, this is what postpartum really is. I'm just, the number one word is exhausted that I've been using, because it is completely the truth. So much to it, and I will definitely be making multiple videos on that. But I'm very excited to make this video. This is going to be my birth story video, and I have a very, I would say, unique and interesting birth story, especially for a first-time mom. And this is a video I've been wanting to make for such a long time. If you guys have been following my channel, you guys know that the hospital experience I was so excited for, and just labor and delivery in general I've been so excited for. Before I do get started, I just wanted to let you know my baby is 1.5 weeks old right now, so very new, fresh. Everything is so new to us. It is our first baby. And if you are new to my channel, please just stick around and subscribe and look at all my other things. That's my rant there, and now we can go ahead and get started. I am Alyssa. I am a first-time mom. I am Weston's mom, and I do love him very much. But I am very exhausted as well, and I am exhausted because I love him so much and because I'm trying to figure out how to do the best for him. Hormones are crazy, but when I use the word exhausted, I'm not trying to make it like super negative. My pregnancy was so easy, the easiest pregnancy ever, all the trimesters. My labor was easy, as you guys are gonna come to find out. And postpartum is hard. This is the hardest part for me, for sure. Yeah, and when I say exhausted, I don't mean to be negative or like put down the love that I have for my son, because that's not the case at all. Why I am exhausted is because I love him so much, and I'm trying to do everything I can. But there's only one of me, and I only know so much, and I will continue to learn about him and continue to be able to provide for him and give him all his needs. And I know that I can't be the perfect mom, and it's weird because I don't even feel like a mom yet, and I just have to learn myself, and I just need to give myself grace. So it's very long, and none of that postpartum stuff even matters with today's video, so let me get started into my birth story. I'm actually gonna go try to grab him really quick so you guys can see how tiny he is. He's like 6 pounds something right now. So I'm gonna go try to grab him. Hopefully he is sleeping and will cooperate. He is beautiful and I love him so much. So I'm gonna go grab him and then we'll start the birth story. It's very unique. Keep that in mind. Mama's my girl. Mama's my girl. Okay. Alright, this is the best that I'm going to do with Weston in the video. It's going to be him in the mama room next to me so you can see the tiniest little bit of him. Part of the reason wanting to do this video so soon is because I wanted to capture how tiny he is, and you guys can't really see that, but also I just want to be able to do something for myself, and I do enjoy making YouTube videos. And once again, this has been like a video I've been really excited to make no matter what, and now even more so because I think my birth story was obviously so cool, but I think everyone's birth story is really cool, especially when it's your own. So that's another reason me wanting to make this so soon, is because I haven't done anything just for myself. Barrett, get out, other than like take a shower and stuff. So I'm just ready to do something for myself. I'm gonna shut the door and Barrett's gonna open it up because that's what he likes to do. Okay, now officially beginning finally our birth story. So I did get induced. It was not a medical induction, it was an elective induction. I got induced at 39 weeks in 6 days, or in 7 days, whatever it goes by. It was the day before my due date. So I was due on February the 21st. And I got induced on February the 20th. I was nervous about Pitocin because I've heard it's like the devil's drug and just like this really hard drug. And when I went in as well into the hospital, I was already contracting. I just couldn't feel it, and they weren't like anything too powerful. Okay, so when they started the Pitocin, when they started the Pitocin on me, my body took it really well, and the contractions became very consistent. They started off at like 100, like if you've ever seen them, like they can go 0 to 100, and they were going 100, 100, 100. Some were like at 85, whatever, but they were all really high contractions, and I didn't feel them at all. Something funny is when my nurse came in, she said, "Now my goal is to make you not smile at me." And I thought that was funny because her entire shift I was still smiling at her. So as the contractions began, I could feel my stomach tighten, but just like a Braxton Hicks. So I felt my stomach tighten up, but there was no pain at all. So those contractions were spiking, but I felt nothing at all. And so in the beginning of it, I wanted Grant to be able to read the contractions and read them correctly. So I asked the nurse if she would show Grant like what the contractions look like on the paper so he knew. And when I asked her that, I made a comment like, "I don't even think I'm having any because I can't feel them, but will you show them to him or whatever?" And the nurse kind of laughed, and she's like, "Well, you'll get a kick out of this," or something, and showed him. I was like, and I asked, "What is that supposed to mean?" And it was because I was contracting so frequent and so high, but I felt nothing. So from that entire time, from 7 a.m. until 4 o'clock, I felt nothing at all. They upped my Pitocin a few notches. I was contracting the entire time, but I felt nothing. I kept thinking they were gonna get stronger, stronger, stronger. They never did. I wanted them to get stronger. I kept saying that I want contractions, and I just wanted it to happen. I was excited for it to happen. I wanted to feel what it felt like. As I was up, I was like, okay, I want to go on a walk. So I took so many laps around because I could have just kept going. It did not hurt one bit. I could have just kept on doing laps, like literally nothing. I had absolutely no pain. When I got to the hospital, I was 2 centimeters dilated and 80% effaced, and then they didn't check me until my water broke, and my water broke at 4:15 around then, and it broke on its own. So I was so excited about that. I was actually going pee, and then I peed, and then I stopped peeing, and then a gush of water came out, and it felt just like a really heavy pee stream. It wasn't like the floodgates have entered. It just felt like a really heavy pee stream, and I stopped, and I thought to myself, that was really weird. I stopped peeing, and I'm not gonna just start peeing like crazy again. So I was like, thinking it possibly was my water, but baby, oh. Okay. I was thinking that it was possibly my water breaking, but I'm like, no, I've always heard it's continuous. This isn't continuous. It stopped. So then it happened again, and so I told Grant, I'm like, hey Grant, I think my water broke. And he's like, what, really? Do I need to call the nurses? And I was like, well, 1 second. Like, I'm not really too sure because it stopped again. And so I stood up, and then like a little bit popped out. And I'm like, yeah, sure, call them in. I'm not too sure if it is or not. So when the nurses came in, they said, well, like, you do accidentally pee yourself sometimes. So if it's not continuous, it might not be your water, but we'll check you anyways. And I was just so upset with myself. I was like, dang it, I think I said, like, this is gonna be so stupid if it's not, like, this is gonna be embarrassing if it's not my water, which that's such a negative mindset to have. So I wish that was not my mindset. I think your mindset is everything, especially when you're trying to have no epidural, and just in labor and just in life. Like, be positive to yourself. There's no need for negativity, like self-talk, you know. I was just like embarrassed. I was gonna be embarrassed if it wasn't my water breaking, but it's all so new. Like, it is such a weird feeling, so like don't ever be embarrassed if you are pregnant and you feel like you need to call your doctor over whatever. Don't have too much pride in like thinking, don't have too much pride and be embarrassed about it. As I walked from the bathroom to the bed, it was just coming all down my legs, so I just knew it was my water at that point. Like, it was continuous at that point. And so I kept saying, like, then like I was so positive and I was like, yay, it's definitely my water, like it's coming down my legs, and I was like laughing because it did feel like super weird, it really did. And so it just kept coming down my legs, and then I got in the bed for them to check me. I had a nurse that was like a new nurse, she was in training, so it was actually kind of cool because I like to know what my body is doing. And so when she went in to check me, the nurse that has been there for a while, she was like asking the new nurse like if she felt my bag bulging or something. She had like a piece of strip or something that she would place in my water and see if it turned blue, then it was like amniotic fluid. And so she was asking, is it blue? And then the nurse said yes, and I was like, yay, so it is my water. And they said yes, it is absolutely your water, so you are not going home, you are staying here and you are having this baby. So I was so excited. And then when she did check me, then it was like the floodgates. Like, it was water. That's when it was like literally the floodgates. They had to change all my like padding, everything underneath me. It was the floodgates. Immediately the next contraction I felt it. Now it did not hurt at all, I just felt it, and it was actually really cool. And I kept talking to Grant how I thought it was like super cool because everything they said that contractions feel like is exactly what I experienced. I could feel them coming on, I felt them at their highest peak, and I could feel them going off. And I thought that was really cool, and it did definitely feel just like period cramps, but once again, I would not use the word it hurt, I just felt it. Like before, I would just feel the hardness in my stomach, but I felt nothing. And then now it was the hardness in with like the period cramp like. They did check me when my water broke, so when I got there I was at 2 centimeters, and then they checked me then, and I was just she said a good 3. I was actually kind of discouraged at that point because going from 7 a.m. when the Pitocin started, my contractions started, so from 7 a.m. until 4:15, that's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, that was 9 hours? Yeah, so for 9 hours I was contracting, I felt nothing, and all it did to me was give me 1.5 centimeters up because I came in at a 2 and now I'm at 3.5. So I was like, wow, yeah, baby's not coming until Friday. My best friend was there. She was able to be there for everything. She actually works at the hospital, so I felt really confident having her in there. And then later at the end of the story, you'll understand why it actually was huge and vital that she was there, because she literally got the show rolling. And at 6:30, I got checked again, and I was only a 4 centimeters. So then from 4 o'clock or 4:15 when my water broke until 6:30, so like 2 hours almost, I had just went up 0.5 centimeter, so it was like not much progression. At that point my contractions, I would say they were bad and they hurt. I had to start, like, I was really having to breathe through them. And at 7 p.m. my doctor came in, and she was seeing that I was in like a decent amount of pain, and I guess she was trying to get me to think about an epidural. And my nurse did take my best friend out in the hall, and she asked my best friend, now, how serious is she about not having this epidural? And Kelsey said she's pretty serious about not having the epidural. I do remember that when my doctor came in, every time I saw her, I was wanting to be like upbeat and happy, like just to be like a good patient or something. And so I do remember my doctor coming in, and I was like upbeat and happy with her, and then a contraction came in, and it did hurt at this point. Like, they were getting pretty intense. And so I remember being upbeat and happy, and then like immediately just like going to my IV pool or going to my bed or whatever it was, and like just start swaying with Grant. He was like behind me doing pressure points and just swaying with me. And I remember that happening. I was like, hi doctor, blah blah, and then I was like, oh wait, and then I went into a contraction. Something too is I had like I don't even know what it is exactly, but I was gonna go on a quick little walk, and like my contraction, I felt it coming on, and so I was like, well, 1 second, let me like, I'll go on the walk after I'm done with this contraction. So the contraction went up, and then it like started going down, and I could feel it going down, so I was like, okay, we can start to go. And then I was like, oh wait, I'm going into another one, and it's because my contraction went up, and then it kind of went down a little bit, and then it went into another one. So it was like, it didn't like make its way all the way down and then have a break. It was just up and then dipped, and then it went straight into another one. And I could feel, like my body felt that. I didn't have to see it on the piece of paper, like I felt it. And I thought that was kind of cool, that exactly what I was feeling is what the paper was showing. And so then I did go on 1 lap, and before I did 3 laps, like such a breeze. Now this time the 1 lap was enough, and I was ready to get back in the room. I just stopped like 3 times on that walk, and I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do this because I was in a lot of pain. I was swaying, breathing through it. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this out in the hall. And then also something that was funny is when I got out there, the anesthesiologist, because I used to work at the hospital actually, so I know exactly who he was. He was out in the hallway, and he knew that I was a first-time mom and that I was not getting an epidural. Okay, my camera's gonna shut off really quick. Sorry you guys, I'm all over the place, and I've told the story a million times. Maybe that's why, or maybe I should be better at telling the story. But yeah, so when I did go out on that walk, I saw the anesthesiologist out there, and I was telling myself in the back of my head, like, okay, like boss up, like you gotta be strong, like in front of him, like you can't break down and start like swaying and like being in a hard contraction. Like he's right there, and he's gonna be like, yeah, that girl's getting an epidural. Oh, also something I forgot was when I went around like the first time when I was not feeling any pain at all, when I was still just like 2 centimeters dilated or whatever, and I kept doing all those laps like between the 7 a.m. and the 4 p.m. I'm not sure what time it was that I did it, but my contractions, my nurse said out in the hallway to another nurse, she's like, look at 12, that's the room I was in, look at 12's contractions, isn't that so weird? And I asked, because I heard them say that, I was like, what's so weird about my contractions, like can you tell me? And so she told me, and she showed me even, and I thought it was very interesting. So my contractions, typically they're like hills, like ba-doop, ba-doop, ba-doop. Mine would go up to like 100 or whatever it was at, but it would go up, and then it would flatline, and then it would come down. Go up, flatline, and then come down. Like all of them, like multiple in a row. It would go up, flatline, come down. And so that was very interesting that mine weren't just like nice peaks, but they were like plateauing. Just 30 minutes later at 7:30, they started really amping up, and they really did hurt at this point. I can't just say they were really amping up. They hurt really bad at this point at 7:30. And I heard my nurse ask about if I would be interested in Stadol. Now Stadol is a drug that a pain medication or something. I don't know much about it, so I could be saying stuff wrong. But it is like a pain relief, and I did have in my mind already going into labor that I probably was going to get Stadol. It's something that it's not a very powerful, it's not an epidural at all. It just kind of like, your contractions still very much there, it just kind of dulls it, but you still feel it. And I told myself before that I was probably gonna get Stadol because it would let my body relax a little bit, and maybe I could get more sleep, preserve some more energy, and then be able to go on with it. And so at that point I thought I was a 4 centimeters dilated, and they were really starting to hurt. So I was thinking, you know, Stadol might be something that I need to think about because these are really hurting. I'm only 4 centimeters. I need to conserve my energy. So that's kind of where my mindset was going. And so they asked me if I'd be interested in Stadol, and I was thinking, not just yet, I'm just 4 centimeters. Like, I wanted it, but I was also telling myself, like, no, I'm just 4 centimeters, like, not yet, not yet. And so I went through like 3 contractions thinking about Stadol in the back of my head, and after the last contraction I was like, okay, Stadol, like get me the Stadol. And I was like definitely in like so much pain. I think I was over that little tray table that you can get your food, and I was just rocking back and forth. I was like, okay, Stadol, like wrap it up, like get me the Stadol immediately. And they had it available right away, and they gave it to me, and they said, okay, now you need to get in bed because it's going to make you drowsy. Which makes sense. You don't want a drowsy medication with a pregnant lady and then she can fall. But if I would have known that, I would not have wanted it because I did not like being in bed. when I was having contractions, I wanted to be up, I wanted to be changing positions, I wanted my body to be flowing and moving. Being in bed hurt so bad, so that's something, advice that I would give you, like get out of bed. When I had to get checked at that 6:30 and the contractions were there, I did not like getting checked at all because I had to be in bed for it, and being in bed during a contraction sucked for me. So if I would have known that Stadol meant that I needed to be in bed for the time being that it was in my body, I wouldn't have gotten it, because I really did not like that. But in hindsight, it probably was good that I was in bed, because very soon you'll know why. So I did get the Stadol in me, and that was at 7:30. And then as soon as I was in bed, I mean, the contractions were horrible. I don't know anything about drugs. I thought that the Stadol probably didn't have time to hit my body, because I know like an epidural can take like an hour or something to hit your body, I think. But when I've talked about that, people told me that it probably did hit my body. So I think the Stadol did hit my body, or it didn't. I'm not really sure if I had enough time to. But definitely at the end, when I had Weston on my chest, I was like so out of it, and I heard Stadol makes you out of it and a little loopy, and I definitely did feel out of it and a little loopy. So I do think that the Stadol did that to me. So maybe it got in my system at the very end, but excuse me. But yeah, so the whole time being in that bed from that like 7:30 until like 8 o'clock time, I was in a lot of pain. A lot of pain. And the last 3 contractions before I started pushing were horrible. Oh my goodness, like I can't even explain it. They were awful. I was just not even a human. And 8:08 is when I pushed my son out. So yeah, so 7:30, still thinking I'm 4 centimeters dilated. I was in the bed. The contractions were absolutely unbearable, and I was thinking in those last final 3 contractions, okay, yeah, so in those last final 3 contractions, I was thinking of an epidural. I was thinking I needed this epidural because they were horrible, and I was thinking that if I was 4 centimeters dilated and this is the pain I felt, and I still have 6 centimeters to go, like this is gonna be awful, and like an epidural is what I need. So in the back of my head, I was in like so much pain. In the back of my head, I'm thinking, okay, I think I need an epidural. But then I'm like, no, you're just 4 centimeters. Like that is so weak that like, no, don't do it. Which is not weak. It is not. This is just the way my mind works. I do not think epidurals are bad. I should definitely state that. I do not think that at all. It's nothing even about being all natural or not liking needles. I have no reason for ever wanting no epidural. It was just my own mindset and seeing if my body could do it. Nothing against epidurals at all. Just for me, I really wanted to push my body and see if my body could do it, and it absolutely could. I just think we're kind of made for this, but also drugs are too, and if you want a pain-free birth, then I totally understand that too. So I was telling myself, like, this is silly, like I'm in so much pain, I'm only 4 centimeters, like don't get the epidural yet. But then I was in so much freaking pain that I needed the epidural, and at this point, these last 3 contractions, like I could not breathe through like the, like I could not, my body just took over like that animal, like there's a certain word for it, I can't think, but that moan that's like that just like took over my body. Like there was just, I could not do anything else like that, just my body produced that sound. That last contraction, I guess I went and I like grabbed my crotch, and I was like holding my crotch, and I said I have to poop. I really feel like I have to poop. And I guess that is like something that is, baby is coming. If you feel like you have to poop, that is the pressure, and baby's coming. And I didn't know I grabbed my crotch, but because I did, and my best friend working in the OB floor, she said that, or she asked, are you feeling pressure? Are you feeling pressure? And when I'm in that intense of a contraction, I can't just talk. I cannot just talk to someone. And also I was so out of it, like I was in so much pain, and I don't even remember the amount of pain I was in, honestly. Before like the other contractions, I remember the pain, and it was fine, it was manageable, I was in control of my body, I could do it. I could do it for a long time, I could do it for multiple hours. But this at the very end was awful, but I don't remember the pain. So that's weird, but it was awful. So Kelsey asked if I was in pressure, having pressure, and I just couldn't respond. I could not speak back to her. And then after I kind of thought about it, about the word pressure, I was very much feeling pressure, And after it kind of related to me, I was like, well, crap, I know that pressure means baby can be coming, but I'm only at 4 centimeters, so I don't think that. So I said, yeah, I feel pressure. Like, I mouthed to Kelsey that I felt pressure, but I didn't think too much on it. But when your body has to push and your baby is there and you have to push, your body pushes. And I've always heard that, but I know it firsthand now. So I had my underwear still on, and my body, I mean, Weston was down there, his head was down there, he was ready to come out. My body was pushing on its own with my underwear in there, with no nurses, no doctor, anything in there, but I was pushing my baby. And I didn't realize it because I was so out of it. But when I felt that pressure, before my body was actually pushing itself, before I felt that, I felt some pressure, and I was trying to like suck it in, like, you know, if you have to fart or something and you're like trying to suck it in, or if you have to poop or something and you're trying not to poop, that's what my body was kind of trying to do. And I told Kelsey, yes, pressure, and she was gonna tell the nurses. And then when my body just like had to push, like I was just letting my body do what it naturally had to do, and I was just letting myself push, and because I didn't realize it was baby. And when my body was doing that though, I was like, pressure, lots of pressure. That's something that I just remember like so vividly, like kind of trying to yell in that state at least. Do you want that? Nope. But that's something I remember trying to yell in that state, is pressure, lots of pressure, because that's exactly what I felt. You can't even see his little noggin down here anymore. He's just down a little bit low. He's a little guy. Kelsey called the nurses to come back in, but I guess the nurses were already on their way in because his heart rate dropped really low, and that's not good when your heart rate drops really low. It could be like fetal distress. And because they thought I was 4 centimeters dilated, they thought that something wasn't going right with baby inside me, so they got the O2 mask for me to start breathing in to try to help him out. But my doctor said she saw signs of labor, not labor, I was already in labor. She saw signs of like pushing, like delivery, because she saw me just 30 minutes before. She saw how much pain I was in, and then his heart rate dropped extremely low. I guess when the baby's head is at your pelvis, your baby's heart rate will drop no matter what. And so when the heart rate dropped really low, she thought that probably was the sign that I was ready to push, and that baby was at my pelvis. That is exactly why his heart rate dropped so low. So all the nurses came back, the doctor came back, and it was time to push. My nurse checked me, and she gave my best friend like really big eyes, like holy crap. I was a 9.5 centimeters dilated. So from 6:30 when I was 4 centimeters from 6:30 until 8 o'clock. I started pushing before 8 o'clock probably, or right at 8 o'clock. So from 6:30 to 8 o'clock, so an hour and a half. I went from 4 centimeters to 9.5. So no wonder my pain was absolutely out of this world. And something I told myself is that I probably was going to ask for an epidural, but I was hoping I was going to ask for the epidural when I was like 7, 8, 9 centimeters dilated, so that I would be like, okay, well, I can just like push through it. And so when I never even asked for the epidural. I never once asked for it, but I was thinking about it in those last contractions. I was thinking about asking for it, and I was freaking a 9.5 centimeters dilated. So no wonder I was thinking about asking for it and being in so much pain. But also with that, I was thinking of why I was thinking about asking for it is because I thought I was 4 centimeters, so I thought I had all this long way to go. If I would have known I was at 9.5 centimeters, obviously I wouldn't have time to get it actually at that point, and I would be totally okay with that. So anyways, it was time to start pushing because I was 9.5 centimeters dilated, and so they started getting me all like put up or whatever. And come to find out, after I've like talked to my friend about it that works there, and like just in hindsight, like getting some of her information, is my bed, I didn't have enough time. Like all of a sudden it was time to freaking push. So my like labor delivery bed, it wasn't even set up for like push time, whatever that means. I guess it was like I was really low in the bed, and like it was really flat is what Grant said. So it just wasn't typical. And then the cart that they have, the blue cart that has all the sterile instruments on it for the doctor, that wasn't in my room. It should not have been in the room because I'm just 4 centimeters. Like no one's is in there at 4 centimeters. And they got it quick. It was in there immediately, but when they knew what was happening. But what I'm saying is there just wasn't time yet. Like it was not pushing time. We thought I was 4 centimeters. So that wasn't in the room, my bed wasn't set up, and then also the stirrups that like your legs go into, the stirrups weren't up, they were just holding me. And I was so out of it when I was getting ready to push. I didn't know how my underwear came off. I didn't know like what was going on. They yeah, and I didn't like, I was so out of it, but also I had like subconscious thoughts. So something I was thinking was, okay, I see that blue cart, I know what that means. I see my doctor here, and I see that she's putting on blue scrubs pretty quickly, and I see that I have 2 new nurses on either side of me. So I was putting 2 and 2 together that it's push time, but also I was like so out of it, and I think that definitely was the Stadol kicking in finally at push time, the time that I probably wish it wouldn't have kicked in. But I still very much felt everything going on, for sure. Yeah, it definitely just felt like so much pressure though, and they were telling me how to push, and I obviously didn't get like a practice push or anything, but they were telling you what to do, and I was so out of it I couldn't even like comprehend what they were saying, but I was doing exactly what they said. And afterwards they said that I should teach a pushing class, and that I was like really good at it or whatever, and it took me four or 5 pushes, and Wesson was out and on my chest. Doctor said, when I asked, she said that it probably was 15 minutes of pushing, but Grant and Kelsey do not think it was that long. I would guess like 5 minutes or something, but who knows, maybe 8 minutes. Before I started pushing, the doctor said something like, do you feel like you could push? And I said, I already pushed on my last one, like that's what I said. And they're like, okay, let's push. So they started telling me like what to do, and I was just doing it, but once again I wasn't comprehending. I never once brought my chin up to my chest because I just wasn't understanding that like it was go time. But until the very last push did I understand completely what was going on. Not until the very last push. So I brought my chin to my chest and I gave it all I had. But that very last push meant that Wesson's head was already all the way out. His head was completely all the way out. My last push, I just needed to get his body out. And not until that very last push is when I understood, like, I'm pushing my child out and he's coming into this world, like what was going on. And I completely felt like his body coming out, like it literally felt like a body coming out, which was so cool to me. And then when he was placed on my chest, I was just so confused. I kept saying like, baby, like this is my baby, can I touch him? Like I don't know what to do with him and stuff like that, because I was so freaking out of it. One of the reasons I was most excited for the hospital is because I was most excited for the moment he was placed on my chest. I would look up at Grant. I thought it was gonna be heaven on earth and like, oh, like the heaven's gates, like the most beautiful thing ever. And I would look over at Grant and it would be so amazing, but I was like so out of it, and I didn't even think to look over at Grant until like 30 seconds or a minute after he was on my chest. And then I looked over at Grant, I'm like, holy crap, we got a baby here. And yeah, I was just asking like, can I touch him? And they're like, yeah, he's your baby, that's what they said. And I was like, my baby? Like, I don't know, I was like so out of it. But also about the pushing, so I completely was just like, I was in a different dimension. Those last like 3 contractions, different dimension. When I was like doing that like more animal, like different dimension. I was not Alyssa, like I was someone else. So when I was pushing also, like I didn't understand what was happening, but I still had like my subconscious thoughts. And something I was thinking is, okay, it's push time and I'm in this much pain, like this really hurts, and I cannot be pushing for an hour. Like I know women push for an hour or more, or 45 minutes or something, and I told myself I cannot push for that long. I have to give it all I have. So I just like literally gave it all that I had. And yeah, it's exhausting, so I can definitely see if you've already, like, if you exhaust yourself before, like, you need to have energy to be able to push. The fact that literally I went from in an hour and a half from a 4 to a baby on my chest is insane to me. So my next baby, an induction probably is going to be something that I do for my next baby if he doesn't come naturally, or he or she, but because I need to be at the hospital. When my water breaks, I need to be at the hospital. After I had my baby, they said that I pushed like a multip. I'm probably saying that literally so wrong. I'm just kind of making the word up from what I remember. And I asked them what that word meant, and it means like women who have multiple babies, like have had delivered and pushed and done everything multiple times. They said that I delivered like that. So like a something is a one-time, like first-time parent. That's what I was, but they said I pushed like I was a multip or something. This video is literally so stinking long. I knew I was just going to talk and ramble. I am very thankful that my it did go so fast, because I didn't have to have like the more typical labor, and it did go pretty quickly. So I am thankful for that, and we'll just have to see what my next labor brings me. Oh, when I was pushing the pressure, this story is funny. It has to do with poop. I did not poop. I did not poop, but I thought I pooped. So remember when I told Kelsey that I had to poop? That's a huge sign that baby's coming. It literally feels like you have to poop. So when I was delusional and like pushing, I literally thought I pooped 3 small turds on the table. I swore to you. I literally thought I pooped 3 small turds on the table. And what it was is, when I was thinking that, is the baby's head, because it doesn't just whoop, come out. Well, I mean it can, but it like goes like that, like it's like trying to come out, and it probably did it like 3 times, and I thought that was like when the head came out a little bit. I thought it was a poop, a poop, a poop. I swear it felt exactly like I pooped 3 times. And so I was like, as I was in like this, I was so out of it. I'm in this different world. I'm like in like my contractions in so much pain, can't even hardly breathe, shouldn't be talking at all at this moment. But I talked to the nurses. I'm like, I pooped. I know I pooped. I had 3 poops or something like that in between these contractions. And they're like, no, you didn't. I was telling the one girl, like, I know I pooped. And she looked me in the eyes and said, no, I didn't. And then I looked her in the eyes. I said, I know I pooped. Do you need to tell me that I pooped? And I mean, I didn't poop. It was just my baby coming out. But that's kind of funny. Like, it literally exactly felt like that. I thought they were just trying not to make me embarrassed and say like, oh no, you didn't poop. But like, girl, it felt like I pooped. My body just really took over, and I think that's so cool. I just think everything about my labor was so cool. It was nothing like my dream labor, because my like labor, what's it called? I even made a whole video on it. Like what I wanted out of my labor was just the very stereotypical. I would have loved for my water to break at home and labor at home, and everything that I wanted is not what happened. He's a wicked great face. He is such a sweetie bear. So one second, I will pick him up. I'll show you guys him, and then it's time for me to take my makeup off and everything and go to bed. And I'm very excited to go to bed. Well, actually soon it's probably gonna be time to feed him, so I'll feed him, then I'll go to bed. And it'll be wonderful. And I'm gonna give myself grace, guys. I'm a good mom. I am a mom, even though I don't feel like it, and I'm a good mom, and I'm trying. But it doesn't mean that postpartum can't be hard, because it is hard for me. And I'm gonna be honest about it. If my pregnancy was hard, I would have told you guys, but it wasn't. It was easy. And I think my labor was easy, so I'm blessed with that, and I'm blessed with a healthy kid. That's all that matters. That is all that matters. He is healthy and he is here. That is all that matters. So, one second, let me show you how cute he is. Here is this sweet guy. Oops. This is the guy that came on his own time when he wanted to. Just as they all do. Aww. Oh my goodness, you're so cute. Look at him. Mama's my girl. That's what your onesie says. And my shirt says, Weston's mama. So that means I'm your girl, doesn't it? Look how tiny he is. I guess pictures and video probably don't even do it justice. My friend said pictures doesn't do it justice because he's just so small. Mommy loves you. Mommy loves you. I only kiss him on his hat because I don't want to get him sick. I'm not sick, but you never know. Take all the precaution we can. Time to go. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of videos regarding him and being his mama and just honest life, whatever I'm going on in life. So now it was pregnancy, it was wedding, it was pregnancy, and now it is baby and being a mommy. Hi baby, we have no milk right now. You just ate. Okay, your milk monster. Hey baby. Hello baby. Oh goodness, you burpy boy. Burpy boy. Burpy boy. Hi baby, you are a burpy milk monster. Okay, let's show your little outfit. Mama. Is it say mama's? Mama's my girl. Yes. Mama's my girl.